it's not because men were turning soft, right? The idea of
No,
men being soft,
it's because
the idea of men being soft, Andrew, is a battle cry of men who see that purely physical stature is no longer the only defining quality. Because, like you said, they could line me and you up, and all those brutes, like the cops or somebody looking for pure strength, would choose you to defend them. But anybody who was from a marginalized group that was looking for an emotional defender, those people would pick me, right?
why.
And
We're not here to talk about hypothetical assaults. We're here to talk about the hypothetical paradigms and ideas around masculinity, because you started this conversation saying that the patriarchy and capitalism and all this bullshit. And I'm
yeah,
sitting here saying to you, I'm sitting here saying to you, live in a very soft society. You're completely correct. 99%
no,
of problems are not assault.
incorrect,
You live in a soft
incorrect,
society. If you were the same
incorrect,
person in most places on the planet, you would have had your ass beat because you are a
dude.
weakling. And weaklings are
I've,
not respected. Let me tell you
I've,
something, my friend, I'll let you talk afterwards. Never
all
in
right.
human history, in any single civilization, in any single empire across the history of Earth, have men been celebrated for their weakness. Ever once. It doesn't matter if you were an Aztec or the Mao dynasty, from China all the way to South America. In every single history book you can read, men who were respected and men who had stories written about them were written about them because they were strong. Weak men have never been respected. Weak men have never mattered. For you to come along and say, I think it's okay to be weak, is fine. That is your initiative.
Welcome back to the Manosphere Paradigm, the channel where we learn to level up in health, wealth, relationships, and hobbies. Guys, today, Andrew Tate is the gift that keeps on giving. And I'm finding a whole lot of conversations that's happening where he is definitely taking over YouTube. He's learned to basically get the algorithm to pick him up. He's done it the way that a lot of people has not thought of, but he's gaining success in being constantly on everyone's feed. Obviously, having not just the fact that he's basically being spammed in your face because of the algorithm, but the fact is that he is adding value to the space where he's having very entertaining and I would say good logical and educational type of conversations. One such conversation has been with the guy that you've seen, the pink haired dude. It's you can see the guy is also, I would say, probably in his 50s or mid or late 50s. And when it comes to the level of programming that he has been um, exposed to for all these years, I mean, it's clear to see exactly where he stands when it comes to masculinity. One of the things that I do enjoy of Andrew Tate is, and I've always seen it, is that a lot of guys, because there is another guy that walks into a room maybe, or is in their presence, or in the company, whatever the case may be, there's always this level of wanting. We all have this internal type of system of rating people. And what do I mean by that? If someone walks into the room, you know, you as a guy, we always in competition, we're always measuring ourselves up with others. Although we're in our own space, going for staying in our lane, going for the things that we want. When there's someone else that got a certain level of physique that maybe that you are chasing in the gym, when it comes to the type of level of wealth that they have that you would want to have one day and working towards, you subconsciously measure yourself against that person, and you think to yourself, you know what, you are. When it comes to men, like I said in the previous video again, that we gauge men and we respect men on the level of success that they've achieved in their life. That is just intrinsically the way we are as men. But we measure ourselves up against each other. Subconsciously, we do it. And in this case, when Andrew Tate is being the masculine dude that he is, this beta dude with a pink hair has never encountered that level of masculinity. And whenever true masculinity is in the presence of beta men, the first thing, the very first thing they do is to make sure that they undercut that person. They are condescending and they have this sarcastic type of jabs or jibes that they take at the guy, trying to chip away at his confidence, which is definitely not something that's going to happen. But they still try, and it ends up where they want to see how far they can push the guy, and that is not a very masculine thing to do. Trying to undercut someone and being snarky and not listening to a conversation, listening at the facts. You are being led by your emotion. And in this case, you can clearly see, I'll show you guys this vid as we dig into it, how triggered this dude is and the way that he goes about just going through the basic programming that he's been exposed to within the matrix, which we call society. I mean, he is a guy that I'm not going to explain it to you. Let's get into the video and let you guys decide as to Andrew Tate completely destroying this dude with basic logic, and this whole patriarchy talking about how we are so oppressed and competing in the victim Olympics. Guys, it is a show. And for me, I want you guys to I wanted to show this to you guys so that we can clearly see how a masculine man, masculinity is definitely vilified in today's society, and how being in line with the feminine imperative that Rollo Tomasi talks with and pens within his book, Positive Masculinity and the Rational Male, and the range of books that he has, you clearly see exactly what people do and why they do it, and how the weak men have always gone this route in making sure that they band together and attack the stronger man, because that is the only option they have to be able to get some punani. So let's get into this video.
Doing good. Andrew, how we doing, buddy?
I'm not bad, sir. You?
I'm doing pretty well, man. I'm in the airport. I was going to take my shirt off so I could step up to you, but
take your shirt off right now.
I can't do it, dude. I'm in the airport. I don't want to get
Where are you flying?
I'm going home. I'm in New York City right now. I'm going back to Oregon.
Unfortunate.
So yeah. So Andrew, he's a big fan of you.
He's a pro. He's the oldest pro Fortnite player.
I am the oldest pro Fortnite player, indeed. And dude, I have nothing personal against you, Andrew, but like,
he thinks you're a bitch, though.
Some of your philosophy, I don't think you're a bitch. I think you're a water boy.
Don't switch up.
Water boy for patriarchy and capitalism and whatnot, right? And sort of regressive ideas about manhood, and which is why the teenage audience like consumes it so much. You got these young boys that are like grappling with feelings of powerlessness, and you come in and offer them like the ultimate machismo ideas of like how to be a man, but you're so off base.
So immediately coming in and discrediting Tate for basically showing men something different than what he believes men should be exposed to, and the type of knowledge that men and at least young men should be exposed to. This is a classic type of guarding, or the old guard trying to make sure that they keep intact this level of protection against. This is our how can I say, this is our what is the word I'm looking for? This is our right, or our prerogative to be able to indoctrinate young men to follow this female imperative of being in touch with your feminine side, other than being in touch with your masculine side. So let's go further and listen to what Mr. Pink has got to say.
It's tragic, really.
So you think that I am inspiring the youth of today, the masculine youth of today, to become men, and you think that's a negative thing? Why?
No, I don't think you're inspiring them to become men, because like real men are in touch with their emotions and their vulnerability and don't need to be like wielding and taking power. Real men are self-aware, and you come in offering them like somebody that they can follow. You want to be like the.
So he starts off with a real man. When it comes to the logical fallacies, logical debate or logical fallacies, one of the things that, again, I'll go back to Rollo Tomasi. He is very informative when it comes to laying out information and laying it, basically being the messenger for you to understand how things is discussed, how people go about certain debates. I myself have improved understanding how, the level and the type of points that someone is bringing up and what they mean with the way that they are talking and bringing certain points up in debate. And one of the big things I can see is the first thing is we call it at least it's called the true Scotsman, where someone would say that a real man does this and a real man does that. Now, his real man, in his opinion, is a guy that's supposed to do the pink hair that follows what is that Britney Spears apparently on his T-shirt, and it's a guy that is in touch with his feminine side, that is all touchy feely, and basically someone that is so strong emotionally. When it comes to being strong physically, that is definitely something that he's not worried about. And we'll see how that becomes an issue when we as men have to face life and the certain things that we have to encounter physically. That someone like this would be left on by the wayside. So let's go further.
The savior, the guy, the badass.
If
Who's
you're,
like,
if you're a man who's in touch with his strength and his masculine power, why does that mean you're not capable of reflecting inwards and being self-aware? They're not mutually exclusive.
well, apparently for you they are though, because on the one hand
That's
you
true.
talk about on the one hand you talk about how you made your first million while exploiting women on webcams,
Incorrect.
and then you post on the Instagram post about how you and your brother are going to bring purity back to women. So yeah, you absolutely lack self-awareness because you yourself admit you made your initial money on sort of like the you profited off the supposed impurity of women around sex.
All right.
So what he's talking about is Andrew Tate. He and his brother, they took their money and their seed money and started their own webcam business with the girls that he had. It's women that he's either dating or was in his circle. And he decided, you know what, was the start of the internet. And he said, you know what, let's put together our money and create a webcam service where I would say that would be probably be the first type of the start of your OnlyFans, that like we call it today. But the ladies, he has, or at least I believe he had an arrangement with them. They made a decision. They decided to go into business with him in the type of business they went into, and they made the money where both parties was mutually benefiting. And he's bringing that up to a certain extent to shame him, as to discredit him for being the type or the man that he says that he claims to be. So let's go further on this one.
The first thing, the word exploiting is an incorrect use of language. 'Cause
Exactly.
I've never exploited anyone in my life.
Well, let me ask you this. When you made your first million with the women in the webcams, how many of the women who were on those webcams earning for you, how many of them are millionaires now?
The ones who made millions are also millionaires.
Exactly. He's making question. He's asking questions, not knowing the answers because he doesn't know he hasn't done his homework and understanding the way Tate has been talking about this. He spoke about this on Fresh and Foot on some other platforms as to how we did the business, and it's pretty much out there. But again, someone speaking very authoritatively. I hope I said that correctly. But they're speaking with a lot of conviction where they are talking through their neck because they don't know the facts. It's classic pink hair behavior.
It was 50%. It was 50.
You know what I'm saying?
I would argue the point here, sir. I would argue the point here that when a girl worked for me, it was 50-50. If you work for nearly any other business in the world, you do not get 50% of the takings. If you go work at McDonald's and you ring up a register for an hour, you do not get 50% of that register.
Exactly.
So that is a lie. Most companies pay you less than 1%. So to sit here and say that I was exploiting people is absolute fallacy. So that's the first thing.
It's like
So that's the first fallacy. I've let you talk. Now it's my turn. That's the first fallacy. The second fallacy is this whole patriarchy bullshit you're saying that are outdated ideas of masculinity.
Yeah.
The idea of patriarchy is not an outdated idea of masculinity. Perhaps in the West, in a declining empire, as we've already discussed on this stream, in an empire which is in absolute decline, you can have men who sit here and think there's absolutely nothing necessary about masculinity in the modern world, and that you don't need to be strong or brave or any of these things. You can sit around and cry and you're still a man. That is not true in most places on the planet. In most places on the planet, men need to be capable and competent, because if they don't, they do not survive. And I'll tell you something now, sir. I'll tell you something else now. You will sit here and talk right now about the patriarchy and how you can be in touch with your feelings and all this bullshit. The second you're physically assaulted or physically threatened, the first thing you do is you call a toxically masculine police officer to turn up with a weapon to protect you because you cannot protect yourself. You're not against the idea of masculine power. You're not against the idea.
Exactly. These are guys that are very vocal when it comes to patriarchy, but when they are in trouble and that physical physical attributes that they should have as men or work on as men and be able to at least protect them and defend themselves and the woman that they deal with, that is null and void, because you can look at this guy hasn't been a day in a day in the gym or in his life. So what do? They basically would, if they're in trouble, they'll call the cops and they have the cops come in to basically sort out whatever problem they had. Back in the day when it was there was tribes that was coming in and invading and wanting to take your woman and enslave your children, you would have been the one that stood in between them, fought for your tribe, and made sure that they're okay. But because we are so civilized in today's day and age, we can have pink hair, wear our Britney Spears t-shirts, and think to ourselves that, I can say what I want to say because I'm on a live stream, but he will not dare say what he's saying with the level of condescending tone that he's doing it if he was speaking face to face. Because why? He doesn't have the physicality to back up the type of energy that he's bringing to the stream. So that again exposes these guys when it comes to them wanting to call out masculinity because it threatens them. It is something that they're not comfortable with. A lot of us, and there is so much over the last decades that has happened where the man has been removed from the home because of there's the culture of single parent households, and unfortunately there's a lot of young men that is listening to guys like this and being brought up in a way that they believe that, I'll make sure that I put her on the pedestal, whether it is his girlfriend or his wife, and make sure I do everything for her. I'll never say anything wrong. I'll make sure that happy wife, happy life, and I'll do all of those wonderful things. And she will never cheat on me. She'll never leave me. She will be there for me when I'm sick. One day when I die, or when I'm old and I'm going to die, she's going to look after me because I've done all of this for her. That is the classic nice guy route that everyone, all of them takes, especially a guy like this. I'm not sure if he's married. I'd be surprised if he is with hair like that. But at the end of the day, you know what? These guys, men today, or at least modern men, has become so comfortable knowing that there is structures in place that will protect them if they run their mouth. So this guy, again, he is not clicking at the fact that if we were, or when it comes to men being adversarial and someone else is threatening you or someone's wanting to do something to you, you need to be your first line of defense. And if you cannot fight and the best thing is to evacuate and get out, then at least you need to have the speed to do so. So physical, he's going on about emotional being this wonderful thing, but if the shit hits the fan, the first thing he calls is 911 because he needs another man to step in and sort out his problems.
Of men who have masculine imperatives to defense. All you've done is outsource it to someone else to do at the end of a phone call because you're too scared to do it yourself. So you're fucking lying. You're lying.
No, that's absolutely incorrect.
You don't want to do them yourself, and you hope everyone else does them for you, so you can sit around and play fucking video games.
See, the point I posit is there's more than just physicality with men. And you talk about exploitation. You absolutely exploit people with your affiliate links. That is exploitation. Like I, as well as Bucky and Clicks, know, anybody who's an influencer knows that affiliate links are total bullshit, because basically you give an affiliate link to somebody who promotes you and he makes a little money off of it, but you're getting free advertising. That's exploitation. No influencer is going to take an affiliate link position because it's absolute exploitation.
So he's talking about Tate's businesses that he has. He has the Hustlers University or college that he has. And when it comes to the way he does his business and the type of education they give men to have multiple income streams and how to build those income streams, it is a lot of times that he's spoken about it. But if you pay the $50 that you need to be able to go in there and be part of the Hustlers College, you pay a subscription, and you basically will then learn and be exposed to the knowledge, and also obviously be able to enjoy the network that he has when it comes to connections and different businessmen that is connected to that institution. He's complaining and saying it's calling it affiliate. He's just trying again to discredit him for being the businessman that he is. He's got multiple businesses. I believe he's got casinos and everything else. He's got the YouTube thing going. I have no idea how much type of income streams that the Andrew Tate has, but I do know he lives a pretty lavish life. He lives in Romania. He shows his life on the internet. You can go out and go check what he gets up to. And for me, you know what? This reeks of jealousy when men want to put someone else down and expose them by talking about certain things as to as to being someone that knows exactly what the hell they're talking about. So I'm definitely, to a certain extent, yes, I'm defending Tate because I don't know what the hell is going on with his business. He doesn't know what's going on with his business because if you sign up and go through the program to get to know things, you find out, you know what, is it a scam or is it not a scam? But he has not followed it. He has basically listened to other people, what other people have said, and is gone with that. And he has labeled him and looked at him a certain way, and he's going to continue with that label because that is what he heard. Sad.
Practically exist on. Now the idea of manhood is you can talk about like purely physical strength. Like first off, if I get assaulted, I'm probably not going to call the police, okay? Because the police aren't actually very adept at actually solving crimes, right?
So now he made a statement. They called him out on that statement at the fact that he's going to be the first one to dial 911. Now he wants to convince us that if something goes down and he is in harm's way, or he is going to get the shite kicked out of him, he is not going to call the police because the police is also part of the problem, blah, blah, blah. Really, his life is on the line. He can't defend himself. The only thing he can do is 911. He's not going to do that. So is he just going to lay there and take it and basically get the crap beat out of him? What the hell is he going to do? If you are going to be so confident in what you're saying, go with the example that's given and give a concise answer. And you know what? Get to a point in understanding. I might need to concede because I might be wrong. This is something that never dawns on these guys because they are so plugged in when it comes to their beta programming. They are so, I mean, he's what? Like I said, he's in his 50s. The programming runs so deep. There is no way in hell. This is your classic cipher. The first thing he's going to do, he's going to get hold of the agent. He's going to make sure that he cuts a deal, and he's going to sit there eating his steak, telling us all that ignorance, or at least in his private meeting, tell the agent ignorance is bliss. This is cipher. Cipher without the bolded, what but pinky.
They don't function very well in the actual solution of crimes. They show up later and just sort of muck up the business.
Correct.
Right?
So I agree with that. So how would you defend yourself in the
Exactly.
assault? You just lay there and take it?
Well, so it would depend on the assault. I would probably remove
It's going to depend on the assault. Okay, someone's going to kick the shit out of you. What are you going to do?
myself from the situation, right?
Obviously, that's not something that's going to be applicable to the scenario we're doing here
Exactly.
on the stream. We're not going to pretend you can run away because that just defeats the point of the
Well,
question.
what are we? Are we here to talk about some hypothetical assault?
No, we're not here to talk about.
99% of Americans never even encounter a violent
We're not
crime.
here to
So
talk
this
about
whole
hypothetical
machismo
assault.
thing is like nonsense.
We're not here to talk about hypothetical assaults. We're here to talk about the hypothetical paradigms and ideas around masculinity, because you started this conversation saying that patriarchy and capitalism and all this bullshit. And I'm sitting here saying to you, live in a very soft society. You're completely correct. 99%
Incorrect.
you live in a soft society. If you were the same person in most places on the planet, you would have had your ass beat because you are a weakling. And weaklings are not weakling. Let me tell you something, my friend, I'll let you talk afterwards. Never in human history, in any single civilization, in any single empire across the history of Earth, have men been celebrated for their weakness. Ever once. It doesn't matter if you were an Aztec or the Mao dynasty, from China all the way to South America. Every single history book you can read, men who are respected.
We talk about how masculinity is something that men, especially Mr. Pinky over here, is very much threatened with. But look at the two guys over here. This one is praying. The other one is holding his head. A lot of guys have not been in the presence of true masculine guys that basically holds their own and is not afraid to offend someone and basically have an open and an honest discussion. they are not comfortable with calling out someone. And that's why I love Andrew Tate, the fact that he is basically exposing these young guys to masculinity. And before you jump in the comments and tell me, no, this is toxic masculinity, you define toxic masculinity. We've already been over this. You define toxic masculinity in the comments. If you have an issue and want to call this toxic masculinity, then you tell me exactly what toxic masculinity is, because I haven't had someone that can give me a proper description that can satisfy the fact and basically logically explain to me what the hell it means. Nonetheless, look at these guys. This young dude over here, this one's praying, this one's holding his head. They are so uncomfortable at how this conversation, this is mild, but these guys are, the one is praying, the other one's holding his head and confused and cannot stand this level of uncomfortability, because they've never been exposed to this. We as men, we need to be comfortable when in uncomfortability, because what it translates to when you deal with women, especially, when you are confronted with those awkward silences where it's a matter of basically seeing who's going to blink first to a certain extent, and also seeing how how charismatic you can be, and seeing if she is following and aligning with your frame, or following your frame and following your lead. Being masculine and being confident in those moments, that translates when also into having debates and discussions with people. So if you are extremely masculine and confident and know what you're talking about, and you can stay cool, calm, and collected and deliver it very articulately, these are the things that these young boys are being exposed to. And this is exactly the things that the youngsters of the day needs to be exposed to, because they tend to get into their emotion. Why? Because they've been told, like Mr. Pinky, by Mr. Pinky and men like him, to be in touch with his feminine side. If you are emotionally strong for her, she will respond positively, and you need to be able to support her and fulfill and all this bullcrap. Guys, this is what needs to happen when you need to go through some things to be able to get to the other end and show yourself approved, so that you can be battle tested and also have a certain level of crocodile skin where things just run off you because you just don't give a shit. So I always say, and shout out to Alpha Male Strategies. He always talks about receipts. Guys, do not listen to men that does not have receipts. If you look at Andrew Tate, if you look at what he's done, if you look at what he's accomplished, 4 times world kickboxing champion. He is a guy that is very good when it comes to his finances and investing and making money. He's good with women. Overall, his dress sense is good. He's been on the date on. I'm going to see to the reaction on some of the date that he went on with this one English lady, and you know what? He's got to a certain extent the full package that men want. But then he speaks the way he speaks because why? He's been through it. Then you have guys like Mr. Pinky talking through his neck. I'm not sure what he's capable of and what he can pull with that hair. But at the end of the day, are you going to listen to someone like that has questionable receipts or none at all? Or are you going to listen to the guy that has receipts? Let's get back
men who had
into it.
stories written about them were written about them because they were strong. Weak men have never been respected. Weak men have never mattered. For you to come along and say, I think it's okay to be weak is fine. Yeah. That is your initiative. That is your decision. But the reason you have done that is because you lack brave. You lack balls.
No,
you lack bravery.
Lack balls. Dude, I have more balls than you'll ever have, boss. Because you're changing the goalposts here because
he's got more balls than Tate has. But when there's trouble and his life is in danger, he doesn't know, he can't defend himself. He doesn't know what to do because he doesn't want to call the cops. He's got balls. Okay. Like I said, receipts. You decide.
You're the one who's sitting here calling emotional strength and emotional vulnerability. You're defining it as weakness. But it's not.
All forms of strength are important. You're saying
it's
that.
Not.
Yes, it is. Physical
Emotional strength. Emotional strength. How much is that emotional strength gonna help you when you're getting the crap being kicked out of you? Huh?
strength is just as important as emotional strength.
Emotional strength is actually more powerful than
uh.
physical strength.
Okay.
Because the fact of the matter is, no matter how physically strong you are, somebody bigger could come along and beat your ass. But
Okay.
it's emotional strength that
Mm.
helps you survive the ass beating,
You're right.
not
You're right.
physical strength.
You
I
know
know
what?
I'm right.
You're right. That's a good point. You're saying so when someone comes along to assault you, you won't call the police afterwards and you won't fight back. You'll lay in a ball, you get an ass kicking, but you're emotionally strong enough to just to deal with the fact that you got an ass whoop in front of everyone.
No,
You're
but
weak. And that's
see,
fine. And everyone should be like you. And that, you know what we
again,
call,
I'm
you know,
not
you know
saying
what people
everyone
like
should
you are
be like
called in
you.
most places in the world? People like you are
Yeah,
called in most places in the world. They're
studs.
called victims.
Yep.
We're
We're
called
called
prey.
studs.
You're a prey.
We're called studs.
Exactly. These are guys that everyone will pick on because they know they can get away with it. Then they'll get upset at the fact that they're being bullied, but they got all the emotional strength in the world, don't they? But at the end, for me, the level of delusion is off the charts, and the level of coping mechanisms and the amount of coping mechanisms this dude has built in are sad, and it's also very telling because this is a lot of guys. You may be someone that has encountered red pill knowledge. You've become red pill aware. You have gone through the stage of being RP of red pill rage. You've worked through it, and you come at the other end saying, you know what, I need to take accountability for my life. I cannot be blaming it, everything going wrong and everyone else if I'm not putting in the work. I'm not putting in the graph, and I'm not putting in the hours to become successful and achieve the things that I want to set out in my life. This mentality reeks of the victim mindset of always blaming everyone else and always holding on to the emotional strength because it's intangible. No one can measure it, but physical strength we can surely measure to see that you are physically capable of being able to defend yourself. So a lot of times people will connect to and cling to certain things as coping mechanisms because it is something that is safe. It's something that they can hide behind because no one is challenging them. Why? Because we live in a day and age where everyone's going to tell you, no, you need your own space, you need to work through it, you need to heal. I can remember one colleague of mine um, that I used to work with. They had this tendency to always kind of break down when things started getting tough. And I explained to him, you know what? You need to work on being strong, standing in that heat. If you caught on shite in whatever task that you were given and project that you were handling, and you failed at something, and you are being reprimanded by the boss, stand in that heat, take the heat, take that failure, because it's only going to strengthen you to understand, feel that pain, so that you know what, I need to do better. I need to get my shit together. I need to work at making sure that I can get this project nailed and get it delivered and executed the way it's required by the boss, and I can make sure that the boss and the company looks good and to the client. Those are all the things that you need to focus on. And unfortunately, one instance, he was confronted by the boss and he broke down and he couldn't take it and he needed a moment. Now, all of us are different, but for me, the way I basically came up and I am a guy that had to also go through, like everyone else, go through whatever we needed to go through in life to get to where we are today. But I know I am not going to give away power. In South Africa, we call it the moenie krag weggee nie. I'll say it again. Moenie krag weggee nie. What it means, a rough translation, do not give power, do not give away your power. Do not concede or give the other person the satisfaction of crying, breaking down, or being, standing there with puppy dog eyes because you're being scolded. If you take it, you stand there, you stand your ground, you take it like a man, and you walk away no matter how you feel and what your emotion is, and you deal with that emotion on your own in private. No one needs to see if you are going to break down. No one needs to see that. You need to make sure that you are sorting out yourself and you start building that level of stoicism to be able to get over certain things, endure certain pain, to be able to get to the other side and at least be able to deliver a better result. because you know how it feels if you're going to lose and if you're going to fail the project and fail the boss. Those are the things that I've kind of encountered, and this victim mentality is something that I've let go of years ago, and it has only gotten me to this point of actually pushing myself, trying to get and better than yesterday, and working towards my goals. Slowly but surely, I'm hitting certain milestones that I've set out, and it's coming in slowly. But you cannot give up. You cannot blame other people if you're not getting to where you want to be. So let's get and finish off with the video where Andrew Tate is destroying our pink-haired beta.
And let me tell you something. When I inspire men to grow up and be their biggest, strongest version of themselves, emotionally, mentally, physically, in every single realm, that is not a negative thing. There's nothing wrong with a man being big and strong. And let me tell you one more thing. We're sitting here talking to professional video game players. You're a professional Fortnite player yourself. I don't know how the game works. I've never played the game.
And I was a professional musician and a director. I've done a great many things.
Perfect, good. And you're obviously a successful, smart individual. You're obviously mentally intelligent, right? I'm not talking about. I'm not saying that just because someone's strong, that they don't have to be mentally adept. I'm not saying that somebody doesn't have to be emotionally adept just because they're strong. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that physical strength is also an important thing. But let's look at the video game Fortnite, which I've never played. It might be incorrect. But if you have stats on your character, you're going to try and max out your strength character. You're not going to have a character which is weak. Every single person,
yeah, he's talking about having a level of bias type of. This guy about the pink hair was complaining about patriarchy. But we all have an inkling or bias towards making sure that we are the strongest. These guys, they all play Fortnite in the game. They're into the gaming world. But no one's going to be playing a game with a weak character that basically doesn't even get past the first stage. You're going to make sure that your character has the necessary power-ups. He pushes himself to get to certain certain hidden treasures or hidden medical kits that you get to up the power, or power boosters, whatever the case may be, or better armor. That is something naturally they do within the game, because you want to solidify your character or the player that you're playing with, and making sure that they are at top and peak performance to be able to get you to the next stage, the 10th stage, to wherever you need to get to. You can clearly hear that I have no clue how you play. What is this bloody game? Fortnite. I have no clue how you play this game. My nephews, they show me at times. I just see them running around in this maze of whatever, building things, whatever. But again, the point is, you will make sure your character is the strongest, the biggest, because that is what is required for them to be successful.
If they're given a video game character and said, choose what statistics you want, it's going to click max strength every single time, and then they're going to go back into the real world and pretend strength doesn't matter. Strength does matter. The difference is, in the real world, it's hard to achieve. And because it's hard to obtain, it's the ostrich problem. You don't want to accept that it's hard to do. You don't want to go through the pain to get it, so you want to pretend it doesn't matter. Just because you don't want to go through the bullshit it requires to be a physically dangerous individual does not mean physical dangerous individuals are not respected by society. And I'll tell you one more thing, my friend. One more thing. If me and you were to stand side by side in front of 100 women, in front of 100 fucking police officers, 100 fucking enemies who want to kill us, whatever it is, they would all choose to fuck with you before they choose to fuck with me. Because they'd look at me and I'd have a certain status and a certain presence which comes from my physical stature, not just from my capability.
Exactly.
Because of the things I've gone.
If you are going to go on into a fight and you look at have two opponents, Mr. Pink Hair guy, and you're looking at the guy and at Tate, you know, you're gonna go for the weak one. I've got one of the stories I used to do as a kid. For 10 years I did karate, and I went to our regional championships, Western Province championships, and I was you either do kata or you do kumite. Now kumite is the fighting, and then kata is the performance type of martial arts that you do. In displaying, the way you grapple and different type of strikes that you do, but you do it in a kata, in a sequence that is set out, and each club has the different katas that they put together to compete in these competitions. But the one that I wanted to talk about is when I basically went to this Western Province Championship. I went there to do the fighting, the combat, which was kumite, and your number would come up before you fight. So there's one fight happening, and then your number would come up, and your opponent's number would come up, and you the two know that next the two of you is gonna go into the ring, and you guys are going to basically do fight. And it was semi-contact strike type of fighting, where you would score the point. You don't go through the face, but you would want to strike and score the point on the face, on the body, wherever, with your feet, with your hands. And if you score one on the back, if you score, you strike the opponent on the back, you call, I believe it was a ippon. It's like a double point or something like that. But nonetheless, my number and my opponent's number came up, and I'm waiting, I'm getting psyched up, and then my opponent comes to me. I check his number. I was like, oh, you're the dude I'm fighting. He's my size. We know more than 13 years old, 12, 13 years old. And he tells me, hey, I see you be fighting next. You don't have to be that rough. Let's just keep it cool, and have a good fight. Is that okay? Nah. I was like, no, man. It's great. I got you. Fight starts. I kick his ass, and I don't look back. Win. I'm in the next fight. He looks at me. What happened? I said, you never give away your I taught him a lesson that day. You don't go to your opponent and show them that you are scared. And in anything, the weak person is going to be the one that's going to be preyed on, because they have exposed their weakness, and the strong person is going to overpower them, because they're the easiest route to get to wherever they want to the next level. So when Andrew Tate is explaining this to this dude, he is so ingrained in this pink-haired programming of believing that your emotional strength is so good, but forgetting when you go out into the real world, you will be the bloody first victim. And to not be a victim, you need to let go of that victim mentality, that mentality that wants to blame everyone else for your problems, and to take your destiny into your own hands. Get into gym, make sure that you're putting in those gains. Get your life together when it comes to your money, making sure that you are good with interpersonal skills and women, and also understanding game, and making sure your dress sense is on par. Become the complete package, because guys like Pinkhead Dude are the ones that's telling you that's not needed. It's all about what's in the heart. It's all about the emotion and the connection. And these guys has been leading men astray for years and decades. And men like Andrew Tate and the Manosphere has come in and given men the truth to tell them, so how's that nice guy routine been working for you? So this video, it went a bit long, but I wanted to make sure that I just cover this discussion and the stream, so that, masculinity is not bad. It is not toxic. It is just masculine. Why? Because there's femininity. We complement each other, and together we are better. Now, is there certain double standards that both parties enjoy and the others don't? Yes. So when it comes to listening to men like this and constantly believing the crap that they've been feeding our youngsters are unplugging. They are learning and understanding that there is a better way, because why? They're not seeing the results by doing it the Disney fairy tale way. So I hope you enjoyed this one. It's a long one, but I thoroughly enjoyed presenting it to you guys. I'll check you guys in the next video. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and that notification bell, so you can be informed of content as I drop it on this channel. Cheers. I'm out.